Uh, Hope you all had a decent Thanksgiving with your families. Hope you had a lot of fun, ate well, and in general got along. Uh, I had a very eventful Thanksgiving. I went down to North Carolina first time in a long time, and I got to see my biological father, his wife, and one of my two sisters. I was only there for about 6 hours because it took me about 3.5 hours driving time from here in Yorktown, Virginia to New Bern, North Carolina. But ended up coming back same day. Had to leave really early too, but had a good time. Picked up my wife and kid from her family's folks up in Smithfield because they stayed with their family there. Had a really good time. But since coming back, last couple days, got caught up in a really shocking, messed up thing this morning. Uh, Early this morning, after having took my dog out for a walk, my dog Max, a German Shepherd that's going on 9 years of age, was having a seizure. And needless to say, I was really scared. And my daughter Helen was also witness to this. And she was not freaking out, but she had questions like, oh, what do we do? Do we hold him or anything? And I told them, no, we couldn't hold or restrain him because he's flailing around, he's doing the paddling and the shaking, convulsing, and the drooling, and he's also doing the mouth snapping, so that makes it a little bit dangerous to hold him and everything. And also, it could be a danger to him as well. I think for the most part, it lasted. It didn't. The seizure itself didn't last all that long, probably less than a minute. And then he kind of snapped out of it. It just took him a little bit. Uh, uh, Max is doing fine right now, but we're only giving him like little bits of kibble and a lot of fluids to stay hydrated. Uh, right now, with it being Sunday, we don't have many pet vets that are open on the weekends, especially Sundays. They're only open on the weekdays and Saturdays. Saturdays are a limited time. So, tomorrow, I gotta go down there and get his flea meds. But I've also got scheduling an appointment for him to get him checked because I'm worried that because with him being a German Shepherd and being advanced in his age, because he'll be about 9 here in about a month or two. Uh, I'm worried about the fact that my dog may have suffered from might be suffering from idiopathic epilepsy, or it could be any amount of any internal issues that he could be struggling with at the moment due to age and due to his breed that could be causing them to have seizures. And I'm not scared about the prices or what the vet cost might be. I am a little bit worried about this being the end of that my dog's life is coming to an end at this time, and I don't want him to constantly have seizures or anything. But I also don't know enough about whether the anti-seizure medications that they could possibly give him would do much for him now that he's a much older dog. Had to do the research that male German Shepherds don't live as long as the female of their gender, of their species and breed. Females tend to live at least maybe a couple years longer. But I'm I'm a little bit nervous because Max has been my dog since uh, about 2018. I got Max after my granddad had passed away, and he's he's been with me and my family since then. We got him as a rehomed dog because his owner was moving off post and couldn't take him with because of breed restrictions and all other stuff. But he had other dogs they could take with him. At that time, Max was anywhere between 11 months and 18 months at the time then. But ended up getting him. But I'm just hoping that the doctors can give me some insight into what would be causing this condition. But right now, the only ways they can check to see if my dog has epilepsy is to do blood work, spinal tap, or do a electrocephalograph MRI of his brain to see if that there's any issues. Right now, I know that the MRI for a dog, at least for the brain and everything, is more costly than the blood work and the spinal tap. So that has me really, really worried because I don't know, because of Max's age, whether they'll do the spinal tap or whether or not they'll prescribe him anticonvulsants because it's just there could be medication tolerances or it just might not be effective for him at his age. I mean, I mean, I, I've known about having German Shepherds for a long time, so I kind of am aware of all the issues that they have had, mostly because of the breeding and the show line issues and all the congenital issues like hip dysplasia and other stuff. I know about all that stuff in advance because that's it's not the dog's problem, but it is the problem of breeders and everything. Sometimes they're not really honest. Sometimes they just don't keep viable medical records or registries and stuff like that. And it is what it is. But I've always known that Max would be my last dog because getting older myself, it's a physical ordeal to walk a dog, run around, exercise him, feed him, water him, and then make sure that he's medically taken care of. So that's like the yearly health and wellness checks, rabies vaccinations, distemper vaccinations, all that other stuff, and getting flea meds, heartworm meds, and stuff like that. It That stuff adds up every now and then. Not so much for the rabies vaccinations because they can space them out for like 1 year, 3 years, and all that other stuff. And that gives you a little bit of breathing room. But 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 like I said, Max was is going to be my last dog, regardless of what the situation is, and it just kind of sucks because right now I've been keeping an eye on him since the first seizure that I've witnessed so far. I'm kind of having doubts as to whether or not he's had any before, and I may have not been there to see it or missed it. And that's another thing. That's most of the time when we look for like things wrong with our animals, we just notice the basic stuff like cuts, injuries, look for broken bones and sprains and stuff like that, or if they're having diarrhea because of rich food or something upset their stomach and stuff like that. But not you don't always get to be told that it's like, oh, you need to look out for like seizures or stuff like that, or epilepsy, or neurological stuff. And it just came out of the blue. I mean, for the most part, Max has been a healthy dog. His blood work and all his other stuff has usually come back. His stool samples have always come back clean, clear. But it's just, I guess it's just one of those little things that happens when your pets get older. They just start shutting down little by little, or sometimes multiple things at a time. Uh, to be honest, watching him go for that seizure sucked because one, I just kind of panicked a little bit. My daughter panicked. She wanted to do something, but I told her not to because I didn't want her getting hurt or Max getting hurt. I wish I was Kimbo Schleiss. I wish I was. But no, I'm not at no beach. I'm here sitting out here on the deck of my home here in Yorktown. Yeah, still got pumpkins out, candles out. What's their name? Max. He's my German Shepherd. Uh, what's up? Uh, right now, dark AOS 32. Uh, right now, I'm dealing with my dog who might be having epilepsy right now. So he's an older German Shepherd. So this is one. It's one of those things that can happen with German Shepherds. Well, I was just kind of hoping maybe that my dog would just be able to live out his life normally and just like pass on like semi good terms, like just like pass away in his sleep or something like that. But if he's having epileptic seizures and stuff like that, I don't want him suffering, which would be in the last few months or last years of his life. I don't like the idea of him suffering. Yeah, yeah, I can get medications for him, but it's just a matter of whether or not they would be effective at his age because he's like 9 years old. Most male German Shepherds don't live past their first double digits, whereas the females can live like a couple years into their first double digits. But I have to wait till I get him to the hospital when it's open and the staff is there to get him checked. So hopefully they can do the blood work and find out what's going on and maybe observe him for a little bit. But I'm wanting to keep his stress level down. I want to keep him hydrated, keep him warm, make sure he's got blankets, stuff like that to lie down on. That way, if he does have another seizure, he doesn't land hard on like the surface of the floor or anything. Uh, I wish I could try CBD on him, Kimbo Schleiss, but I've tried like the little doggy treats with some of that stuff in it, or was it THC in it? With him, it just makes him really anxious. So the most I can probably give him would be like some calming tablets or something like that. Maybe a little bit of melatonin in the interim, but but I'd have to get something like I think what they would give dogs that are having epileptic seizures is like diazepam, and I don't know if they'd be giving that in the form of a chewable, or if it would be like something I'd have to inject into them, like using one of those like oh, they look like the things that they use for like epinephrine shots, so like well, pneumatic needles and stuff like that, and then the or the ones that they use for diabetics, the little crank thing, and then they little do the little thermal punch, and then they inject the medicine that way. I hear that I hear if it's like injectable, it would work quicker to reduce the seizure as it's happening, or once if it's administered on a daily dose. That way, it keeps the possibility of having a seizure down. But like I said, I have to wait until the pet hospital that I usually go to is open to get him seen and checked out. The only downside is that I'm going to have the conversation with his physician, Max's physician, about whether or not at his age, with this condition showing up, would it be better to get ready for the process of like having him cross the rainbow bridge, have him put down, because if they still keep happening even with treatment and they get worse, I do not want him to suffer like that, especially if they start becoming stronger and more frequent. That right there becomes a quality of life issue, and yeah, and when quality of life starts going down, you have to start thinking about the end result, like that. It just kind of bugs me because it's happening at a really weird time right now. It's the end of the year. My seasonal depression is like really starting to kick in because there's a lot of anniversaries for a lot of guys that I served with that have died around this time period. So with this with this happening to my dog Max, it's just kind of like squishing things together. It kind of scares me because I can almost feel like the last shreds of my mental health wanting to tug away a little bit. And I know his death or him being put down because of the seizures will really stick with me for a bit. But I also know it's going to really stick with my wife and kid because they love her. They love Max, even though they can't walk him or do the other stuff with him, play around, wrestle with him, and stuff like that. Because he's a strong dog, and my kid and my wife aren't necessarily as strong to deal with a high energy breed like a German Shepherd. But it's gonna hit everybody hard, and I know when it comes down to that that as far as us having any other pets like dogs or anything like that it's gonna be it right there and then. And I just don't want to end up getting attached to another animal. I can handle the responsibility of an animal. I just don't want to get emotionally attached and then have something like this come up again. I mean, I would be happy to have dogs all my freaking life, but even at some point, I won't be able to deal with it. No, I'm trying to stay heads up, banana pip. I'm trying to just I can only handle so many fastballs, and I can only swing and miss so much until I'm like I'm declared out. It just seems just seems cruel and unfair at the moment because I really don't want to lose my dog. Not to, not to like seizures or stuff like that or anything like that. Or ever just have him live out his days and pass away quietly in the house with a belly full of food and water and just lying there comfy and cozy and surrounded by the people that love him. Just, the whole going to a freaking place to have him put under because of a medical condition that might not be able to be reversed or treated properly. Just, it shakes me to the core. But right now, all I can do is just be there for him and get him help. But the only thing I can't prepare for is whether the doctors have good news or great news. And if well, good news or bad news, excuse me. And if it's bad news, it is what it is. But if it's bad news, I want to try to give him the best that I can for however long he can have, and then give him a chance to go peaceably rather than any other way that would seem less than fair. Because I don't believe in abject suffering. I mean, if anything were to happen to me, where like I'm like in, in a vegetative state, or I'm brain dead, or I can't do anything, like paralyzed and all that stuff, I don't want my wife and kid to suffer having to take care of me and stuff like that. Just have me like kind of pull the plug, put me down. I don't believe in prolonged suffering because I've watched people who were sick, had cancer and stuff like that, and they constantly got looped in to stick around by family, even though they're going through chemo treatment after chemo treatment, and they're just constantly getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, hey, let them go. Uh, Thank you for the words, Banana Pip. I appreciate that. But here it is, Sunday evening. Tomorrow morning is when I'm gonna go down to the vet's office and see about getting him checked. Hopefully, they'll be able to take him in on either the Tuesday or Wednesday so they can look after him, because by then I'll have my other paycheck kick in. That way I'll have more than enough money to probably pay for the wellness check and the blood work. But other than that, I'm going to try to keep my fingers crossed, and everybody up here at the house, my wife, me, and the kid, are going to keep an eye on him, periodically just check on him, make sure if he's doing all right. If he has a seizure, make sure it's noted, like the date and the time and how long it took place, and maybe clean up if he ends up losing control of himself, like pees himself or poops himself or stuff like that. But I'll post an update once we find out anything, and hopefully something can be done. But if not, then it is what it is, and we'll have to make preparations to get him ready to cross over. That way he doesn't have to suffer. Alright, this is Robert from Micemore signing off. Thank you for listening. For those who have commented, for those of the trolls, you can all fuck off. I don't care about your 6'7s or whatever crap you tend to troll people about. But Uh, y'all have a good evening.